Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down the aftermath, the fallout, the reign. This is chapter 212, Some Justice.
And what a title. It asks the question right from the start. What is justice? Who defines it? And what happens when your definition clashes with the people who write your checks?
It really does, because we just watched the Straw Hats save an entire country through sheer will, and the very first thing we see is the world government getting ready to lie about it. The whiplash is intense. We go from the highest of highs with Luffy's victory to the grimy, cynical reality of politics.
It culminates in maybe one of the most definitive character moments for a Marine we've seen so far, a moment that will define his entire trajectory in the story from this point forward.
Oh, absolutely. Smoker gets on the phone with the top brass, the people who sign his checks, and delivers an all-time line. He doesn't just disagree with their plan to cover up Luffy's victory, he tells them, and I'm quoting here, to go eat shit.
A perfect, if crude, summary of his entire philosophy. It's the thesis statement for Smoker, the character.
It's incredible. If you want to follow a show that calls out the system just like Smoker, make sure you're subscribed. We're here every week breaking down the justice and such.
Let's start at the beginning of the end. The rain has finally come to Arabasta.
And you feel it. Oda is a master of atmosphere. After 3 years of dust and sand and misery, you can feel the relief in the air. We've been living in this desert with the crew through this whole struggle. To see those first drops, it's a release for us as much as it is for the characters. The long nightmare is over. Oda gives us these beautiful, almost silent shots of the country just breathing again.
It's a baptism. It's washing away the lies of Crocodile, the blood of the Civil War. Water, the very thing that is a weakness to a Loja user like him, is the symbol of his final defeat. It's a cleansing of the nation.
But not everyone is celebrating. We cut to a Baroque works ship, where Smoker is already chewing someone out, because of course he is. That's his default setting.
A subordinate, trying to make sense of the sudden downpour, timidly suggests that maybe Smoker, in his desperation to stop the rebellion, used the illegal dance powder to make it rain.
And Smoker just loses it. You can see the fury in his eyes, the absolute insult of that idea to him. This is the guy who lives and dies by his code. Being accused of using a cheap, illegal trick that caused this whole problem in the first place, it's like accusing Zoro of poisoning his swords. It's fundamentally against who he is.
He says he knows the difference between right and wrong, and that line sets the theme for his entire chapter. It's a simple statement, but in the world of One Piece, it's incredibly complicated. He believes in a moral absolute, an internal compass that transcends the laws written by the world government.
Exactly. And just as he's establishing his moral high ground, we get a proper introduction to someone we've only seen in passing, Marine Captain Black Cage Hina.
She has such a distinct presence immediately. The design is incredible. The pink hair, the sunglasses, the way she talks about herself in the third person. Hina is disappointed. It's so unique and memorable. She's not intimidated by Smoker at all. In fact, she seems mostly annoyed with him.
You get the sense that she's the only person who can really get under his skin in this way. She calls him out for borrowing her best troops, the elite Black Cage unit, just to search for the Straw Hats' ship, and Smoker, trying to be all tough and justify it, says it was for the sake of a fellow Marine.
He means Tashigi, obviously, who was on the Straw Hats ship for a bit, and Hina sees right through it. She teases him, saying he's always treated Tashigi differently, calling it blatant favoritism. It tells you they have history. This isn't a new dynamic.
Yeah, you can just picture them at the Marine Academy bickering just like this. This feels like a 20-year-old argument they're still having. I love that. It makes the world feel bigger, more lived in. Smoker isn't just some lone wolf. He has peers, people who know him, people who can call him on his BS.
He tries to change the subject to reassert control of the situation by ordering her to take Crocodile and the Baroque works ship back to headquarters. She immediately pushes back, asking what gives him the right to order her around. They're the same rank.
And in the most smoker move of all time, he settles it with a coin toss. No argument, no pulling rank, not even a discussion, just pure, unadulterated chance. He wins. It's so perfectly him. He doesn't care about procedure or hierarchy. He cares about his own internal rules.
Hina is furious, but she accepts it. You never change, she says. It's such a great, concise way to establish their entire relationship. There's a grudging respect there. She'll play by his ridiculous rules, even if she complains the whole time. It shows a deeper bond than just colleagues.
While all this is going on with the top brass, the real question of justice is happening down in the city. We see Tashigi making her own choice. Her subordinates are standing over the unconscious Straw Hats, Luffy, Zoro, the whole crew, ready to slap the sea stone cuffs on them.
And she tells them no. She orders them not to lay a hand on the crew. She actively interferes with the capture of pirates with a combined bounty of, 160 million berries at this point?
You can feel the frustration from her men. They're Marines. This is their job. Their one job. They're looking at a huge bounty, completely helpless, a career-making arrest, and their captain is telling them to stand down. They must be thinking she's lost her mind.
But she saw what happened. She was there. She knows who the real heroes of Alubarna are. And her personal sense of justice, the one Smoker has been telling her to follow, wouldn't let her arrest them after they just saved everyone. It's the first time her personal justice has directly contradicted her duty as a Marine, and she chooses her own path.
That's a huge step for her. Since we met her in Logtown, she's been so by the book, so rigid in her all pirates are evil worldview. But Luffy and Zoro, they broke that. They showed her it's not that simple. She's choosing the spirit of justice over the letter of the law.
At the same time, Vivi is finding Koza. The civil war officially ends in this moment. He's being carried away on a stretcher, and she runs to his side, no longer a princess and a rebel leader, but just Vivi and Koza.
This scene is just pure emotional payoff. After everything they went through, all the misunderstandings, Crocodile's schemes pitting them against each other, the fighting, it's just two childhood friends again. She's begging him not to die.
He tells her not to worry, that he inherited his father's stubborn life force. It's a direct callback to Toto, digging for water in the desert for years out of pure faith. It's not just a cute line, it's a thematic anchor.
That's what I'm talking about. That's Oda weaving everything together. The very name of our podcast, Inherited Dawn, is about this theme. It's not just a random line. It connects Koza's survival to the very soul of this country, that stubborn, hopeful, never-give-up spirit. He promises he'll go back to Yuba and help rebuild. The rebellion is over. The healing can begin.
And we see that healing. We get a montage of people all over the country celebrating the rain. We see Pell's grave, a solemn reminder of the sacrifice made. We see Chaka and the royal guards looking out over the city. It's the quiet resolution you need after a war arc. It's not just about winning the fight, it's about what comes after.
And the Kung Fu Dugongs are dancing in it. The Dugongs! I was so happy to see them. They're part of the crew, man. They're loyal to Luffy. Seeing them celebrating confirms they are 100% honorary Straw Hats. And we see Toto out in Yuba, feeling the rain on his face and just wondering if his son can see it too. It's just perfect. A masterclass in silent storytelling.
It brings the entire country together in one shared moment of catharsis. From the capital to the smallest oasis town, everyone is united by the same relief.
And what comes after for the Straw Hats is some much-needed sleep. They're all passed out in the royal palace. Oda draws them just sprawled out, completely drained. They gave every last ounce of energy they had.
Vivi is watching the rain from a window, and Igaram comes in. He quietly starts tucking the Straw Hats into their beds. He puts a blanket over Luffy, over Nami, over Zoro.
I loved that detail so much. Igaram, the loyal captain of the guard, who at the beginning of this journey disguised himself to protect his princess, is now personally taking care of these pirates because he knows what they did for his princess, for his country. He sees them as family now. He's not just tucking in pirates, he's tucking in his daughter's saviors.
It's a moment of profound peace. It's the ire of the storm. The battle is won, her friends are safe, her country is safe. For the first time in years, Vivi can just watch the rain without the weight of the world on her shoulders.
But that peace can't last. The machine of the world keeps turning. The next day, we're at the eastern port, and the mood shifts completely. Tashigi is meeting up with Smoker and Hina.
And she is broken. This isn't just disappointment. She's completely overcome with shame and her own perceived weakness. The weight of her decision to let the Straw Hats go, combined with her inability to stop Crocodile herself, has crushed her.
She tries to give Smoker a formal apology for helping pirates, for letting them escape, for failing her duty. And Smoker just shuts it down. He's not interested in her apology. He doesn't care about the protocol.
He asks her a much more important question, a direct callback to their conversation in Logtown. He told her back then, if you don't like it, then don't just stand there and take it. Pursue your own justice. So now he asks her, is that what you did?
And she just collapses. She says all she could do was help from the back, that what she did wasn't her justice. She feels like a failure. It's a gut punch. She sees her own actions not as a brave choice based on her conscience, but as a cowardly failure to uphold her duty.
Smoker tries to comfort her in his own gruff, awkward way, telling her winners and losers are decided by fate. But she's not hearing it. She's too deep in her own self-loathing. She just starts crying, overwhelmed by her inadequacy.
This is where it gets real. Smoker's patience runs out, not because he's mad at her, but because he can't stand to see her like this. He yells at her. He tells her to do something about it instead of just crying. It's tough love in its purest form.
If you're that frustrated, he screams, then try getting stronger.
And that's the key. That's the push she needed. It's harsh, but it comes from a place of respect. He's not coddling her, he's challenging her. He's treating her like a fellow warrior who has just lost a battle. He's telling her that this feeling, this shame, is fuel. Use it.
Her whole demeanor changes. She stops crying, her eyes fill with a new fire, she clutches the hilt of her sword, and through her tears, she vows that she will get stronger.
It's the vow. It gives me chills every time, because we've seen this exact moment before. This is one of Oda's most powerful narrative parallels.
With Zoro, after his complete and utter defeat at the hands of Mihawk in the East Blue, he pointed his sword to the sky and tearfully vowed to Luffy that he would never lose again. It's almost a shot-for-shot remake of that moment.
It's the same spiritual moment. Her entire worldview, her entire sense of self has been shattered, just like Zoro's was. He thought he was the strongest, and Mihawk showed him he was a frog in a well. Tashigi thought her justice was absolute, and Arabasta showed her it was fragile and complicated. And her response isn't to quit, it's not to blame the world, it's to look inward and swear to become more.
What's so fascinating is that she's a Marine, and she's now on the exact same character path as the pirate swordsman she's obsessed with catching. They're reflections of each other, seeking absolute strength for the sake of their own code. Zoro seeks it to become the world's greatest swordsman for his captain. Tashigi now seeks it to enact her own vision of justice, a justice the world isn't letting her have.
It's so good. It elevates her from just being a plot device to get under Zoro's skin to a character with her own powerful, independent motivation. She's not just chasing Zoro anymore. She's chasing a stronger version of herself. This is her origin story.
And just as she makes this life-altering vow, the central conflict of the chapter crashes into them. The Marines are loading Crocodile onto Hina's ship, and a call comes in from a Marine base. The outside world intrudes.
The voice on the other end of the Dendenmushi is so cheerful, so corporate. Congratulations, Commander Smoker, Captain Tashigi, for your incredible work in defeating the warlord Crocodile. You're both receiving medals and promotions from World Government Headquarters.
You can just feel the air go cold. The silence that follows that announcement is deafening. It's the sound of reality being rewritten.
Smoker is silent for a second, processing the sheer audacity of the lie, and then he just cuts the guy off. He tells him point blank that the Straw Hat Pirates were the ones who took down Baroque works in Crocodile, not them. He just states the facts.
Hina steps in here. She is the pragmatist. She tells Smoker it's pointless to resist. The world government has already made its decision. This is the story they're telling the world. She understands the political calculus.
The pirates cannot be the heroes. A warlord of the sea, one of the government's great powers, cannot be a villain who was taken down by some rookies. It makes the whole system look weak and incompetent. So they have to lie. They have to preserve the illusion of control.
And Smoker connects it all in one perfect, furious line. He looks at Tashigi, who is still reeling from her own feelings of weakness, and he says that the cover-up, this lie from the government, is precisely why she's crying right now.
Yes, because it invalidates everything. It dishonors the Straw Hat struggle, their sacrifice. And worse, it reinforces Tashigi's feeling of uselessness. The government is basically telling her, you were useless, but we're going to pretend you were a hero anyway. It's the ultimate insult to someone who values true strength and justice above all else. It's a hollow victory, a fake honor.
It's institutional gaslighting. The system is telling her that her feelings, her reality, her experience are wrong. The official story is what matters, not the truth. Your shame is irrelevant because we are giving you a medal. It's a complete denial of her personal journey.
And Smoker will not have it. This is his breaking point. He grabs the Denden Mushi and just roars into it. He tells the guy on the other end to pass a message up the chain of command, all the way to the top. Tell the higher-ups who cooked up this lie to go eat shit. He hangs up, declaring, that's real justice.
Super. That's the only word for it. In one move, he rejects their fake honor, their promotions, their entire corrupt system. He stands on his own principle. His justice isn't about what the world government says is right. It's about what is right. And what's right is acknowledging the truth. Monkey D. Luffy saved Arabasta. Anything less is a perversion of justice.
It's a declaration of war in its own way. He's drawn a line in the sand. He works for the Marines, but he does not work for the world government's political machine. He serves justice, not bureaucracy. This is the moment he stops being just a bulldog chasing Luffy and becomes a genuine ideological counterpoint to the corruption at the heart of the world.
Bro, this chapter redefines him completely. He's not just Luffy's rival anymore. He's a parallel force. Luffy is fighting for freedom outside the system, and Smoker is fighting for integrity within it. They're two sides of the same coin, both fighting against the same suffocating control, just from different angles. It's brilliant.
And it leaves him and Tashigi in an impossible position. They've been branded as heroes for something they didn't do by a system they no longer fully trust. They've openly defied a direct narrative from the highest powers. Where do they even go from here?
I don't know, but wherever it is, they're gonna go there stronger. Tashigi has her vow, and Smoker has his rage. That's a powerful, powerful combination. This is the birth of the Smoker and Tashigi we will follow for the rest of the series.
It really is. There are so many different ideas of justice clashing in this one chapter. Smoker's absolute moral justice, Tashigi's emerging personal justice, Hina's pragmatism, and the world government's political theater. Let us know in the comments whose definition you think will win out in the end.
All right, let's get into predictions for the next chapter. The war is over, the villains are captured, but it feels like the story of this island isn't quite finished. What do you think comes next?
I think we're going to get a scene with the architects of this cover-up. We'll cut away from Arabasta to Murray Joie, and we'll see the Gorosei, the 5 elders, discussing the situation.
Ooh, a check-in with the big bosses.
Exactly. They'll calmly explain why it's necessary to credit the Marines. They'll talk about balance, about public perception. It will show us just how cold and calculating the top of the world government really is. They see this as just another move on the global chessboard. Smoker's outburst will be noted as an annoyance, but ultimately dismissed.
I can totally see that. My first prediction is a bit more down to earth. The Straw Hats are going to wake up, and they are going to wake up to be single biggest feast in the history of One Piece.
A classic post-arc banquet.
But this one is going to be royal level. I'm talking mountains of food, chefs from all over the kingdom, the works. Luffy's gonna eat enough to feed a small army, and the palace is just gonna let him. It's the least they can do. We need that moment of pure, uncomplicated joy for the crew after all this intensity.
That feels inevitable. For my second prediction, I think the focus will shift to Vivi. The crew will be recovering, their ship will be getting repaired, and they'll start talking about leaving, and that's when the weight of her choice will hit her. Stay or go?
Stay and be the princess her country needs as it rebuilds, or leave and continue the life of freedom and adventure she's come to love with the Straw Hats. I think the chapter will end with her, alone, contemplating that impossible decision.
Man, that's heavy. I can see that being the next big emotional beat. Okay, for my last one, I think we're gonna get one final scene with Crocodile. He'll be on Hina's prison ship, locked in a sea stone cage.
A final confrontation?
Not a fight, just a conversation. Maybe Hina or even Smoker goes to talk to him, and Crocodile will be completely unbothered. He won't be remorseful or broken. He'll be arrogant, maybe even amused by the whole situation. He'll make it clear that this was just one loss, not the end of him. It'll be a reminder of just how dangerous these warlords really are.
I like that. It keeps him as a threat in the background, a reminder that even when a villain is defeated, their will can live on.
Exactly. He's not the kind of guy who just gives up. He just lost this round.
A banquet, a difficult choice, and a chilling farewell. The stage is set for the end of the Arabasta saga.
And we will be here to break it all down. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Until next time, keep chasing your own justice.
And try not to tell your boss to eat shit. Unless you really mean it.
Later, everyone.